We have adequate staffing. Over the last 2 years, we've gone to great lengths to cross-train all available staff within the Department of Public Service, which gives us an additional 200 employees, specifically from the Division of Refuse, as well as some other smaller numbers from other divisions in the Department of Public Service. We're utilizing anybody who has their CDL license to be able to drive the plow trucks. We have also contracted with private firms so that they can aid if we get into an extreme emergency, as well as we also bring back temporary employees, a lot of retirees, recent retirees who are already well-trained and equipped. We have also added some software. This will be the first year we did route optimization. We hired a firm to come in and redo all of our snow routes, and our snow warriors will now have those electronically in their cabs so that they can be a little bit more efficient. And as you mentioned, we have the Warrior Watch website where people can go online and view where our snow trucks and plows have been and where we have treated, and get real-time, up-to-date information where we've been within the last 72 hours.
Thank you, Director. Councilmember Tyson, do you have any additional questions?
No, Chairman Harden, I just want to say thank you for hosting this hearing, and just thank you that the recycling program is such a success, since it saves us $5.7 million, which we certainly need to be able to provide services to our community. So we're really thankful for that the recycling program is working, and I look forward to the outreach that your community that your committee will have to get to underserved neighborhoods so we can continue to save more money. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. I'd like to welcome Councilmember Page, and thank you so much for joining and supporting this committee. We don't have any speaker slips for public service, so thank you so much, Director, for working with us to submit this budget. Thank you. Next, we will shift gears to the Small and Minority Business Development Committee. This committee is charged with being focused on supporting city entrepreneurs and businesses to make Columbus America's best city to start a business. Mr. Harris, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair Harden, Councilmember Tyson, Councilmember Page. I'm Quentin Harris. I'm Deputy Director of Development over the Economic Development Division, which houses our small business development staff and programs. Since we don't have a specific line item within the development department's budget, I thought a great way to highlight a number of the programs and services that we provide is to talk through our 2015 accomplishments, as well as talk a little bit about the 2016 budget as well. The Small Business Development Services are housed within the Office of Business Assistance, which currently has 3 members of my team, although all 17 individuals within my division at some point or another in their job descriptions touch small business. We have 3 individuals on our team where their primary focus is to help small businesses, primarily in these 4 areas. And so one of my members manage our small business revolving loan program. As you can see, in 2015, we funded more than $1 million in 26 small business loans throughout the city, which leveraged more than $7.7 million in capital investments within the city. That team also conducts business and retention and expansion visits, where they go out primarily in the city's 6 neighborhood commercial revitalization areas and conduct small business meetings with small businesses, trying to understand their challenges, where their business is going great, ways that the city can help them, whether it be providing technical assistance or financial assistance to help them thrive as a business within the city. During 2015, we conducted more than 160 visits with small businesses, from flower shops to barber shops to IT related industries. You name it, we visited them over the course of the year to make sure that they're thriving in the neighborhood business districts. We also, through several grant programs that we identified through those 160 business retention and expansion visits, or through direct calls from companies, or through the NCR leaders that help us manage and navigate the business districts of these neighborhoods. We funded 14 facade grants, which totaled almost $43,000 in grant funding. We funded 11 interior grants, which totaled $192,000 in grant funding, as well as 7 mile-on high facade grants, which totaled $33,000. And I'll talk a little bit more about those programs as we talk through the presentation. The last piece that this group manages is we fund and manage a number of programs that development or council may pass within the budgetary year that's related to small and minority business. And over the course of 2015, we managed or funded 7 economic or neighborhood development services contracts that represented more than $4.1 million in funding. Regarding our small business loan funds, in collaboration with our lending partners at ECDI, which is the Economic Community Development Institute, the Community Capital Development Corporation and CCDC, and the Finance Fund, we funded more than $1 million in 26 small business development loans, which leveraged $7,730,538, where we provided 26 loans through our 3 lending partners and created, through that process, 58 net new jobs. The average size of those loans were between $5,000 and $199,000. So the size of the loan ranged the gamut. The maximum loan that we typically provide through our CDBG revolving loan fund is $199,999. So we definitely hit that cap during the course of the year in our lending. It was an average year for us as it relates to lending, down from 2014, but we feel as if we have ample resources through the budget, which we'll talk about for 2016, as well as in dollars that are revolving back in from prior loans that were made to companies over the years that we then lend back out to small businesses throughout the city. The next area is in our neighborhood commercial revitalization program. Once again, we visited 160 companies throughout the year, where we leveraged a number of programs within that particular program, more on the interior and exterior program. Those programs, which the exterior program we've managed for a few years, the interior program, 2015 was our first year. So we just rolled out this program and have had great success in our first year, funding 11 total projects for close to $200,000. The maximum grant in that program is $25,000, which has to be a 1-to-1 match. And in our facade grant program, the maximum that we will provide is up to $3,000. But if a company were to leverage both programs in their application, we would be willing to double the facade grant up to $6,000 to help them maximize those improvements and improve the look of their business as well as the neighborhood business district as well. From a leverage perspective of the interior and exterior renovation program, we are still in the process of calculating those totals towards year's end. But as of today, out of the roughly $230,000 that we expended in those two programs, we have leveraged, at least that we're able to calculate today, a little over $419,000 and still counting. So we think we're getting a great return on those investments. The next grant fund is the Malone High Program, which is a grant fund that's used primarily in the business districts from on High Street, from the Short North down through German Village. This year we funded 7 facade grants at a total of $33,000 and leveraged more than $96,000 in total investment. As you can see on the screen, there are 2 of the investments that we made in the King Business Interiors Studio sign, as well as the Red Velvet Cafe. Once again, in our service contracts, we managed or funded 17 economic or neighborhood service contracts, which ranged the gamut from investments in global business attraction to small business attraction, workforce development, neighborhood commercial, commercial revitalization investments in our NCR leaders, into our interior-exterior grants, as well as small business lending with services of our 3 lending partners, as well as in some of our other partners, like the Franklin County Finance Authority, who are all partners in our small business and neighborhood redevelopment efforts. As it relates to the proposed 2016 small business development budgetary items, there are no major impacts from last year's budget as passed to the 2016 proposed budget. However, there are 2 noteworthy changes from 2015 budget to 16 budget. The small business concierge position, which is now being performed by Ryan Schick, and his related budget will physically move from Buildings and Zoning Services Department to the Development Department and be housed within my division in the Office of Business Assistance. And the department's community development block grant revolving loan allocation was reduced by $100,000 from $476,736 to $376,736. With that reduction from last year to this year's budget, for purposes of our revolving loan program, we don't foresee any significant impacts, minus being able to provide more loans to small business. We've done some calculations on dollars that are expected to revolve back in from existing loans in 2016 and believe that we'll have more than enough funds between our 3 current lending partners and the new dollars that we have budgeted in 2016 for the program to more than adequately provide the sufficient level of small business lending to the marketplace. As it relates to inheriting the small business concierge position, we think that it's a very positive thing for the development department, as well as the small business development role, development concierge role. We think that within our department, he'll be able to leverage the capacity of the other members of the team and be able to, quite frankly, do more than he has been able to do as kind of a one-man ship. Although we have partnered on a number of endeavors, I believe that him being physically within our offices will allow him to do more, be more productive, and leverage development's resources better. And for us, it provides us an opportunity to be more strategic as a department as it relates to our entrepreneurial endeavors, and allow us to be more strategic and focused with helping the entrepreneurial community in efforts of encouraging more individuals within the city to start businesses and to make those investments. And we'll be able to utilize Ryan more within development strategic plan to do so. I'm here to answer any questions that you may have, and thank you.
Thank you, Director, for that thorough presentation. I greatly appreciate all the work that your office does to make sure that we are giving real opportunities to small businesses throughout the city. Really excited about the loans that we were able to make and the grants that we were able to distribute this year. Always, my first question is when we meet to talk about these loans is how do folks find out about them? Sometimes, a lot of times, even in this budget, we're not exceeding our capacity to give these loans out, and I know that there is also not a lack of need for small business lending. So I guess how would a small business know or find out about these opportunities? And then what is the profile of the small business that would come to seriously inquire about one of these loans?
Thank you, Chair Harden. I think a small business within the city identifies or can identify our funding in a number of different ways. Our staff are out weekly at various small business events through the work of the NCR leaders in our neighborhood business districts, through our partnerships with a lot of entities like the Columbus State SBDC, ECDI, other small business development center type of organizations, COMBA, the Chamber, are all partners where, in basically points of entry that small businesses come to for assistance. We could always use more partnerships. There are a number of incubators and accelerators around the city that are entry points as well. Typically, a company that's a great candidate for small business services are a person that has an idea, all the way to a company that's probably up to about 100 employees or so. That's kind of our sweet spot because we have direct services within our department or through some of our partners where we can provide not only financial assistance but also technical assistance and business coaching to help them develop business plans all the way through product development. We also have internal services where we can find shared office space as well as businesses or business locations if they're looking for a physical address within the city to locate their business. We have all the capabilities to help them from start to finish to do that. And so we typically don't discourage anyone from coming to us because if we aren't the right place, we have partnerships throughout the city to help them accomplish whatever their need or issue may be.
Thank you. So in the NCR districts, we have the facade and interior grant programs for small businesses. I really believe that those are opportunities really to engage small and minority businesses in our harder to develop areas. And so I guess it's more of a comment than a question. We'll look forward to working with your office as it expands this year to do direct outreach in those NCR districts and make sure that folks are aware of the opportunities that lie with that grant program, and do all that we can to increase participation. Not to say that we're not hitting marks, which we are, but again, I know that our need in the community is great, and we still have some capacity to make more of these type of really life-changing but community-changing small business grants. So, thank you.
And I agree. And although the majority of at least what I just discussed were word-of-mouth type of forms of outreach, we do have some initiatives from a marketing perspective that we plan to initiate from a print perspective, as well as a few other forms of media that we plan to engage, to get the word out, and to be more adaptive to our customer so that they can learn more about the services that we're providing, and to share that information for them to readily access the resources of the city.
Thank you. And my last question is basically, in addition to small businesses, the committee is charged with looking after the interest of minority-owned companies. Does the city currently support any revolving loans for minority businesses exclusively? And how do we, are there opportunities to make sure that we are doing all that we can to make to provide those opportunities within our limits?
We do not have any minority business programs that service minorities exclusively. Those programs or those individuals, minority or otherwise, can access all of our small business and grant programs that we provide through the city. As it relates to minority initiatives, definitely we partner with the Columbus Chamber on Diversity Bridge, for example. We have definitely, as part of Project Blueprint, tried to engage a number of minority vendors in which could access contracts with the city. And in those efforts of trying to do so, try to help them as it relates to accessing capital, or other requirements that they may need to qualify to be a part of that program, for example, to help them, whether it's technically or financially, access contracts with the city or privately through other relationships we have in the private sector, or with entities like the chamber, et cetera. So we do have a focus to try and help minority business through entities like COMBA, for example, but we could be doing a better job at targeting specific minority businesses and women-owned businesses, for that matter, to help them have more access and to leverage more resources to be within the city.
Thank you so much, Director, and I appreciate all the work that you and your department are doing. Councilmember Page, any additional questions? Thank you so much. Thank you, Director.
Thank you.
At this time, I turn the floor over to Director Carter to discuss the work of the Mayor's Equal Business Opportunity Office. Director, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair Harden and Councilmember Page. I appreciate the opportunity to talk about what we're doing and what we intend to do in the Equal Business Opportunity Office. As you know, our office is charged with ensuring inclusion in the city's procurement process, contracting process, making sure that minority and women-owned businesses are aware of opportunities and are allowed to participate in them. We reach out to thousands of minority businesses each year. We engage in our networking events that many of you have attended, of course, with well over 1,000 minority vendors or contractor suppliers in Central Ohio. We have relationships with nearly, if not all, agencies that deal with minority and women-owned business in the region, in the Central Ohio area, and I appreciate that we're greatly respected with respect to the work that we do and the advocacy we do on behalf of not only the minorities that are currently certified, but those that we are reaching out to be certified. And to do work with the city, and know that the city is open and willing to do work with us. So our mission is to grow minority businesses by getting them work and to provide them technical assistance and other assistance, be it referral or whatever that they need in order that they can be more productive, and also that we can build our capacity in Central Ohio. One of the things that we've always been committed to is the idea that each program, whether it's the City of Columbus, the State of Ohio, some of our local entities around, CODA, the airport, all of those, we all have a lot of the same customers. So we partner with all these organizations regularly so that we're meeting the needs of our companies, and we understanding that we want to provide full service assistance to them. So we do work with partner agencies to do that. Not only, and the reason why I say that is important, as you know, Councilmember Harden, it's not just businesses that get work with the city, it's also businesses that may get work with businesses who do work with the city. So our minority business program includes everyone who meets that category. We also, of course, by nature of the demographic of our businesses, most of them are small as well. So we have a minority and small business focus just because the great majority of our minority-owned businesses are in fact small as well. As you know, in the last 2 years, we've been really engaged in a couple things that have come to fruition. One is the implementation of our new monitoring and tracking system, PRISM, which is a web-based system. We're really proud of it. It can be accessed on desktop so that we can look at real-time utilization for minority and women-owned businesses daily or monthly or however a department would like. So we're very proud of that. We completed that process at the end, I think, of October. We're working a few kinks out, but it is operational and people are using it. It is a great program, and we're really proud of that. We also, as you know, worked on our small business initiative for the past year and a half, and that is also ready. We reached out to well over 1,000 businesses via focus groups. We had an internal team in city leadership that worked on whether or not we should have a race and gender neutral program as well. So those are two things we've been very much engaged in. Another thing that we've done is we've been really concerned about our professional service area, not because we're not doing well, because we are. We're in the 30% range. However, we want to work with our minority vendors to make sure that that continues, and to also make sure that we serve on evaluation teams and departments so that we can share with our minority vendors after the process is over, of course, what kinds of things they can do to improve or to make better choices with respect to projects, understanding, and also help our departments understand how best to attract minority businesses in the professional service area. And the reason why that's important is that right now our utilization for 2015, we don't have our year-end report, is around 8%. We don't want that to go down. If our professional service numbers go down, it would. So while we maintain that, we also are aggressively working always on making sure that our procurement process in the goods and services side and then construction also increases. As you know, because of the legal landscape, it's been quite difficult to deal with some of the construction issues. However, we've been working and trying to find ways to make that more equitable as well. In the procurement side on goods and services, we have worked really well with the Department of Finance, the Purchasing Division, to work on the number of universal term contracts, to increase the minority participation on those awards, and to all around make sure that our vendor base is solicited in a more casting a wider net. So those are the kinds of things that we've been doing in the EBO office over the past year to make sure that our inclusion is important, or our inclusion continues to grow. Our relationships with our other agencies, as I indicated before, is probably the most critical. because that way, not only are we building our network of businesses, but also understanding that we have a lot of information to share, and we would like to gather as much information in order to be more productive with our minority and women-owned businesses. One thing that I'm sure you'll be glad to hear is that the state of Ohio reached out to us a couple months ago, and we've always had a reciprocal agreement where we would accept their certification as minority business and give you a reciprocal certification with the city. The state now has asked, because they appreciate our process, that they're going to grant a reciprocal certification to any of our MBEs as well. So we have the MOU now. City Attorney's Office will be reviewing it, and once that's done, that will be a great help for us. So we're trying to leverage those relationships wherever we can. With respect to our budget, our 16 budget, the EBO Office 16 budget is a basic continuation budget. There's no real change. There's only a slight decrease in the professional service contract awards, and that is because of unnecessary cuts. It's the only place we could cut. We're staffed at 10. And, we're funded, at 9, and that will remain the same. I would expect that the EBO office, the staffing may change somewhat in terms of titles, because I think some of the direction that we're going in light of the tracking system, in light of some of the education that we've offered over the last year or two to departments, some of the work that we're doing can be done within the departments, and our office may be best suited for more policy work and also recruitment of certification, growing that list. So we are concentrating on growing our minority business list, making sure the city's ready to receive them, and also continuing our work with our partners. We also have done a great deal on making sure that workforce, people understand workforce. Mayor Coleman asked us earlier this year to formulate a workforce plan to increase workforce with our contractors who do work with us. That's not something that we've done in the past, but we've been working to put together a program around that. I've also been working with COIC on that effort as well. So that is another thing that I think that the EBO office should concentrate on in 16, looking at the workforce, because one of the issues that we have with availability, particularly in the construction area, is we do not have the kind of availability we'd like to see. And people don't typically start a business just because they usually have worked in it first. And so that's why workforce is important. If we grow workforce, ultimately we believe that our businesses will grow. So those are some of the things that we're doing in EBO. We're really proud that over the last, during our administration, we've spent well over $500 million with minority firms. We have certified well over 500 minority women-owned businesses, and we continue to grow. So we're really pleased with some of the work we've done. Of course, we want to do better, always. There are a lot of minority businesses in Central Ohio that we haven't reached. That's why it's so important that we network with our other partners to make sure that they know we're out there and that the city is a viable place to do business. Some of our departments have done exceptionally well in utilization over the past couple of years. Certainly, the Department of Utilities has done very well, as well as Service, Rec and Parks. Some of the others have done a great deal, and we want to keep that up. It's important that we don't lose footing in that effort. So some of the things in our budget, of course, won't change. We've been doing the same thing for a very long time with success, but we will be looking at the small business program, possibly going to a race and gender neutral program, possibly looking at a disparity study, but all the while we still will be advocating for minority businesses and partnering with other departments within the city and externally, and letting our minority business community know that they're important to us. That is our goal and objective. Any questions?
Thank you, Director. Really 2 points, not questions. One, I am happy to see that, to hear about the look that you're going to do at how you can maximize your staffing in the current budget with the appropriate strengths that you have now to be more effective. I think that is, I appreciate you taking that opportunity to do that. Secondly, I think as we move forward this year, or going next year, the ability, how we work with the departments and come up with real ways to ensure that we are making sure that this administration, this council, has a real commitment to working with women and minority-owned businesses, and through your office and those partnerships around contracting, really to provide those real opportunities. I have appreciated the work that we've done so far together this year, but look forward to taking an even deeper dive into this area and working with all of the departments, like I said, to make sure that it is understood what our standard and our expectation is as a city as it pertains to small and minority businesses.
Thank you, Councilmember. I agree. It can't be done alone, and the department work is so critical. And certainly support of your leadership and council is integral. So I look forward to the EB office moving forward, working with departments, making sure that we provide them all the resources and assistance they need to make that happen. And certainly your leadership in helping us with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Councilmember Page, any additional questions? We have no speaker forms for this segment of the hearing. So with that, I want to say many thanks to everyone. As you've heard, the Public Service Department plays a critical role in infrastructure maintenance throughout the city, essentially providing and caring for the framework of our city. The Small and Minority Business Development Committee also works to convene conversations to support our entrepreneur community and determine when the city can be helpful, when the city can get out of the way, and when the city needs to do something differently. I look forward to continuing those conversations through a series of field hearings in 2016 that will explore unique needs of different types of small businesses throughout Columbus's unique neighborhoods. Before we conclude, I'd like to thank Public Service Director Tracy Davies and her staff for all their work, and congratulate Director Davies on her move that she'll be making very soon. It has been a distinct honor and privilege to serve with you this past year, and I'm very excited to continue to work with you in your new capacity. Thank you to Director Carter and the staff at EBO for all the work that you have done. Special thanks to Director Quentin Harris. Look forward to the work that we will do and the expansion that we'll have in your department and in your office as it pertains to small business and the good work that you're doing to engage local business owners throughout our city. I certainly want to thank Councilmember Page and Councilmember Tyson for joining me this afternoon at this exciting hearing. I also definitely want to thank City Council staff, the team at CTV for making sure that we can rebroadcast this public hearing, and certainly my staff, Edward Johnson and Linda Capobianco, for their work. And finally, thank the residents of Columbus who make our city the best place to live, to work, and to raise a family. Unless there are any further questions or comments, I will conclude and adjourn this hearing. Thank you.